If somebody called you up today and asked you to do their bike maintenance, could you do it? Could you do the regular major things on a motocross bike that you have to do every race? The purpose of this demonstration is to show you how to do these major things that you have to do. Things like oil change, checking tires, changing the air filter, checking antifreeze, checking spokes, and lubing the chain. First of all, you're going to need a stand to set the bike on. Put the bottom middle of the bike laying on the stand, but don't worry, it's protected. It will not be hurt. First, I'm going to start out by draining the oil. The drain plug is on the right hand side of my bike, on this specific bike, and it is taken out by a 13mm socket. On different bikes, it will be different sizes, and it might be on the other side of the bike. You take this out and make sure there's a drain pan underneath because the oil will drain and you do not want it to get on the floor. But make sure there is a copper washer on the bolt that you have to keep. You cannot lose this because it is basically a seal for the oil and so that it does not leak. This is critical. Next, while the oil is draining, I am going to check the spokes. You do this by getting any metal object and letting it run up against the spokes as you spin the tire. You'll know when one's loose because it will make a different sound than the others. The spokes basically sing to you, and when one has a lower pitched tone, you know it's loose and you have to tighten it. You have to do this on both tires. It is very critical that none of them are loose so that a tube does not get popped and you don't lose a wheel while jumping a 100-foot triple and breaking your legs. Next, I'm going to check the air pressure of the tires. You want to do this every time before you ride so that you're not falling because of a low tire. On this specific bike, I want 12 psi in the back and 11 in the front. It may be different depending on the track. If it is hard packed, you're not going to want them real hard because that means you'll slide out by not getting traction. You might want to lower the air pressure if you're on a hard packed track, but most of the tracks now are prepped and you do not have to worry about that. Next, I'm going to spray the chain. I'm going to lube it so that the sprockets can turn easily and the chain is not getting restricted. It is also for rust. Any chain spray will work. This specific kind is Bel-Ray, but like I said, any will work. After we get the chain all lubed up, we can take out the air filter. This is done by taking a little cover off that covers up the air box and the air filter. It just slides out of 3 little clips. It's done pretty easily. Then there's a spring clamp that you have to pop off. It just pops off a little object that it's on, and that's done. There's a center thing that you have to pop out of the air filter before you can start getting it out of the air box. The air filter just comes out pretty easily. It's on a center hub, so it's not really going to bend or anything, but be careful not to get dust into the air box. Getting it off the center rim is actually pretty easy. There's 3 little holes on the air filter that go into little posts on the center hub, and you just pull those off. Do not rip them because if you do, the air filter will not go back onto the center hub. After you have the air filter out, make sure you put a blue towel or any kind of rag in the air filter box so that no dirt gets in there while you're cleaning it. Next, we are going to wash the air filter. What you do is, I'm using no toil air filter cleaner. This is biodegradable, so you can dump it back into the sink and not hurt all the little animals in this environment. Aww. But you just mix the water around with the no toil cleaner, any kind of cleaner, and put the air filter in and try to squeeze out all of the dirt. It comes out pretty easily. After a couple minutes of washing, this is your result. There might be a little dirt on it from rubbing it on the bottom of the bucket where the dirt went, but this will come out when you use the clean water to wash it out. Here's the result after you wash it out with clean water. It looks brand new. Next, we are going to put the air filter in some air filter oil. I am using no toil, once again, biodegradable oil. There is different air filter oils, but I am using this one. The whole point of no toil is it is biodegradable because the people that are making it love the fishies and the little minnows. But anyways, you pour a little bit in a sealed bag so none of it comes out onto your air filter. You can have multiple ones in a bag, but you close up the bag and move the air filter around a little bit to get it all soaked into the oil. You want to do this so that when you put it back into the air box, the air coming through the air filter into the carburetor is completely clean. The next step into reinstalling an air filter into the air box is putting it back onto the center hub you took it off before. Remember, I told you not to rip the air filter where those little holes are that go onto the plastic poles on the center hub. This is very important that you get them lined up right. It may take some time, but you have to make sure they're on those little plastic poles or else dirty air will get through, which is the whole point of an air filter, so clean air gets through, no dirty air. Next, we have to seal the air filter completely to the air box when we put it in. This is done by getting rim grease, put it on your finger, like so, and moving around the sides of the air filter. And this is called rim grease because you put it right on the rim of the air filter, nowhere else. You can put it in the air box, but you do not have to. Next, we are reinstalling the air filter. Do not forget that rag you put in the air box because it will suck through the engine. You do not want that. You have to move that little spring clip and install it back into the air box. It is done pretty easily. You just gotta look how the air filter is shaped and how the air box is shaped inside. Put that little middle tab back into the air filter, like so, and then clip the spring clip back onto the little tab it was on before. Then we gotta reinstall the cover that goes over the air filter so the most dirt stays out the can. Look at how it's shaped and put it back into the 3 little slots that it came in. It is done really easily. You just gotta make sure you don't break the little tabs off, or else that's disaster. Next, we had to put the drain plug in that we took out for the oil to drain. Remember, you gotta keep that copper washer on it or else it will not seal. It is regular thread. Turn it to the right to tighten, turn it to the left to loosen. It is not too hard to remember. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. After we get the drain plug in, we can work on reinstalling the transmission oil. Get a cup, a mixing cup that shows cc's because you cannot base it off any other things. You need 700 cc's for this bike. Other bikes can be different. After you get all the oil in the cup, you can put it back in. You gotta take a little plastic cap that you had to take off. It just unscrews. It's not too hard. And then you can work on putting the oil back in. You cannot go too fast or else it will run out the sides. Pour it in slowly, but not too slowly that it takes 7 years to do. Remember, not too fast. After you get the oil in, you can put that little plastic cap back on. Just screw the right and it'll tighten. But don't forget that you cannot go too tight or it will strip out and then dirt can get in, which you do not want. The last check mark to checking the bike over after every race is checking the antifreeze. This is done by twisting off a cap and it's really simple. If you follow these step-by-step instructions, when you pick the bike, it should start right up. Cheese! Now that I've told you all the steps into checking over a bike after every single race, could you come along with me and do it for me after the race and make sure my bike is all good for the next moto? I wonder if you could. Maybe we should try.